This is the Airhorn Podcast. On slow down and talk about going fast. Another mountain biking podcast where we sometimes answer
questions you have.
Listen at 1.25 speed. You can listen in any order you please. Might be the worst, could be the best. Sometimes it's just me tonight. There's a guest here. Airhorn Podcast. All right. Welcome, everybody. Okay, we got a couple of people in. Welcome to the Airhorn Podcast. If you don't already know, this channel, the Airhorn channel, is a companion channel to my main MTB Allen channel, which maybe you already know that. If you don't, now you know. Over here, it's podcast, it's talk of time. That's all we do over here. Tonight, we have Mark Hill from The Segment as our guest. Mark has a brand new channel that he just launched. What, you launched this?
We're about a little over a month now.
A little over a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
Mark launched his channel and is already doing some pretty cool stuff. Interviews, stuff on the trail. There's even like some reviews. Mark actually reached out to me. That's how Mark and I met. Mark reached out to me and asked me to be on his podcast or interview, and was kind enough to accommodate me with like how I wanted to do it. Like, you had a thing you wanted to do, and I was like, let's do this other thing, and you were totally cool. So check out The Segment. He's got some good stuff. I feel like, Mark, your channel is going to grow. You're doing, I think, all the right things, which we'll come back to because we're going to get to know Mark. But before we get to that, Mark is going to help me get through some of our segments. First off is channel news. Woo. Mark, you got any industry? I keep saying channel news. It's just news. Are you aware of any like news in the industry right now?
The only news I could think of right now, Alan, is, when you bring your bike into the bike shop with COVID, everything has been so slammed. You've got, a 2-week wait time, 3-week wait time. The only channel news I could think of right now is make sure you call before you bring your bike in.
Yep.
Get that appointment, because I did it. And when I went in, I got my bike back the same day. So nice. Folks who had dropped it off, they were kind of bikeless for a couple weeks if they only had one bike.
Yeah. That's a really good piece of advice. And I think also some bike shops that have their stuff together, they've set up some text messaging systems. I know like the Path Bike Shop down in Tustin, they are all totally set up. You can text their numbers. They actually have people dedicated to just responding to texts. So yeah, really good point. Any other news from you? What's going on with your channel coming up on your channel?
Yeah, so I have a couple episodes that are in queue to release. A couple different PRs we were chasing after. Also have a family episode for those of you with a family and little ones. We recently camped at Sky Park, and what I did is the segment there was just being with the family, being at Sky Park, enjoying the outdoors, getting away from all this COVID crazy news and stress and anxiety, and just getting a chance to relax and be in the outdoors. And there's a cameo with my buddy MTB Allen in there on day 2. But when you guys see that episode, he looks like this. He goes, I got the follow cam, and he's so fast. He's like this. He just disappears.
But we all met up at the bottom and fist bumped, so it was good.
Yeah, after Alan had a cup of coffee, he read a book, and finally I got back to the bottom.
that did take a while. I guess my news this week is I don't know if if any of you follow BCPOV. He's Eric and Yuka. He broke his wrist, so if you don't already subscribe to those guys, check them out. If you're interested in giving them Patreon support, I'm sure they could use it right now because they're like, he's broken his wrist, and I definitely have a lot of empathy for that because I've broken my wrist. For me, my channel news in particular, I am working really hard. I know a lot of people are waiting for that jump, the tips, the jumping tips video. I am working really hard on that. I'm still working on the script. A little bit of insight into that, into why it's taking so long. If you don't already know, Snow Summit has been closed down, which I guess is more news. And there was a whole segment that I was going to do in that video that concentrated on just 650B and using that as a good example. And I was that's where a lot of my content for that episode was going to come from. And I haven't been able to do it because Snow Summit has been closed. So I'm doing what I can. I might have to do some cardboard cutouts or something. I don't even know what I got to do to like make that video happen, but that's what I'm working on. And I think that's it for channel news. Let's jump into a couple of comments before we move on to Stoke of the Week. Vegas Mike says, "What's up, Alan?" Hi, Mark.
Hey, Vegas Mike.
And Stephen Nelson says that Snow Summit is closed for the summer. I did hear that rumor that Snow Summit season is over, which makes me very sad. I'm not happy about that. And MTB Isaac 13 says he got his tall boy the same day, which is pretty rad. That is unusual. Do you have are you like running like extra small or extra large? Because like getting a bike right now is crazy.
Rough.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Let's jump into Stoke of the Week. So I have this guy, I don't know who this guy is, the segment, who said, this is you. My Stoke of the Week is waking up after an awesome interview with MTB Allen and being grateful for the fun combo we had. I laughed at this because I was like, waking up after... Did you just like we finished and you just like passed out and you were like what happened?
What happened? Where am I? What's going on?
That's cool.
That's funny. But that was awesome.
Huh? Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, that was fun. I like that. That was cool. What is my Stoke of the Week? I didn't think this through. Like I didn't really, because I'm always trying to get everybody else's Stoke of the Week, so I didn't really concentrate on my Stoke of the Week. I'll come back to that. Vegas Mike 1904. I'm moving to a new apartment tomorrow, and my local trails are half a mile bike ride away. They aren't amazing trails, but fun enough to hit a couple of times a week after work and not get bored. To paraphrase Tony Marinara, aka the Outsider MTB, the best trails are my local trails. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
So that is our Stoke of the Week.
Oh, I have one, Alan. I have one for you.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. You have one.
So Stoke of the Week. So I'm riding with Alan, and we got Katie with us and Preston. Shout out to both of you guys. You guys are awesome. And, it's every time you get up to the top of the mountain or somewhere going up to the top, somebody always stops Alan. And Alan, you're so good with this. They're always like, hey, man, it's MTB Alan. And Alan makes time and says hi, stickers, fist bumps, and pictures. And, I'm sitting there with them. I'm like, I have a channel too, guys. I have one too. And so there was a couple of times throughout the day. There was one up top where a group of riders were behind me. And they tapped me on the shoulder and they busted out a camera. And I'm like, finally, yes. And they said, hey, man, can you take my picture? I said, oh, sure thing, buddy. So I took their pictures and but anyhow, we got down towards the bottom, and shout out to Jeff. He's a firefighter down in San Diego. He got a really rad picture with Alan, and then he looked over and he saw me and he said, hey, you're that guy. And I really had to pull it out of him. I said, yeah, I host the segment. And he goes, that's right. Can I get a picture with you too? So finally got my picture and a sticker, and I was pretty stoked for the day. So Stoke of the Week.
That's rad. That's rad. Mark, Stephen Nelson does say that stickers are the secret.
Yes, Stephen. Yes.
You just gotta let everybody know you got stickers.
That's right.
Yeah. What's another segment we have? That's it. I usually do stuff I forgot, but I don't remember if I have stuff I forgot. Um, quick couple of comments in here about Snow Summit being open, not being, when is it going to open? SoCal MTB asked when Summit's going to open. Rumor has it, and unconfirmed, but it does seem like they're not opening up for the rest of the season. It does make sense. Snow Summit usually closes down mid-October, and if you didn't already know, Snow Summit's been closed because the San Bernardino National Forest has been closed, and Snow Summit is actually on National Forest land. So if it's closed, Snow Summit's closed. So, they're only being 2 more weeks. It's really hard to imagine them opening up for 1 weekend or 2 weekends. So if I were you, I wouldn't expect Snow Summit to open back up. A little bit of a PSA. I do know that if you bought a season pass and you only went, I don't know the number of times, but if you went under a certain number of times, you can get, I believe you can get a discount or refund or something like that. So do look into that if you only got up there a couple of times. And where did that question go? Somebody asked if I'm making a trip to Whistler. Mark, have you ever been to Whistler? Or have you ever thought about going to Whistler?
Man, I would love to. That looks amazing up there.
Yeah,
but I haven't.
Nobody's going up there. Yeah, nobody's going up there anytime soon. Not until the United States gets its COVID problem taken care of.
Will they even let us in? I don't even think we can cross the borders, right?
Nope, we can't go. Cannot go. I remember like when stuff was hitting, there was like a number of people. I remember like Paul the punter. I was talking with him during the Sedona Mountain Bike Festival. We were hanging out, and he was like, "Yeah, I think I need to start thinking about like, can I get like back up to Canada like soon?" He was trying to figure that out, but yeah. We got another Stoke of the Week in here. Eric Ramos, Stoke of the Week. New job overseeing 5 hospitals. Time to hit some trails in NorCal. Heck wow. Yeah.
Nice.
Eric Ramos is a longtime subscriber, good commenter. Dude, congratulations. Eric's out there on the front lines. Thanks to you, Eric, for like being out there, and congratulations overseeing hospitals and NorCal. That's freaking rad.
Thanks for what you do, Eric. Awesome.
Yeah. Let's jump into this next segment, which is really kind of not segment. This is let's get to know this guy, Mark, from the segment.
Okay.
Why don't we start by giving me just like give me your elevator pitch for your channel, like the 2-sentence, like why should somebody subscribe to your channel?
Yeah, so thanks, Alan, for asking. My channel is just geared up to help motivate people who watch it. So it's a place of inspiration and motivation. And to take that even out further, it's really just picking out athletes that are wanting to challenge their best, their PRs. And we go out there and we film them chasing after that PR. And we also ask the writer or the person, what is it that they did maybe to train for this? What kind of mindset did they take? And we capture them. So whether they make the segment or they don't, it still gets aired. So the thing I like about the ones who don't make the segment is that it's not really failure. It really just shows that it's a stepping stone and that these types of folks aren't going to quit. So as far as the motivation aspect, if you're watching it and you're not a mountain biker, I hope that people can glean some motivation and inspiration that people are out there trying to do their best at something that they love. And I hope that comes through the screen. And if you are a writer, I just hope that what you see, you can really feel, you can really, it really motivates you to want to get out there and ride that moment or that next day.
That's cool. So what I like also is you've kind of expanded that concept of the segment into just segments of life. Yes. I haven't quite finished it, but I was watching the interview with Mark Brody.
Who
had leukemia, or has gone through leukemia, and it was just like, it was pretty inspiring. It's, as far as I got into it, but I think that's like really cool too. That he's a mountain biker, and he has this story. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean that
And
one was all about.
Good. No, go ahead, please.
Oh, that one was all about mindset. I mean, you have somebody who's living a normal life. We all are. We're all busy. We're all doing our jobs, taking care of family, trying to make ends meet. And then he gets this diagnosis. It's this rare blood leukemia. And 50% of the people that are handed this diagnosis, in his case, pass away. So kind of what do you do? Where's your mindset? How do you tackle this? How do you take that on? So that episode was pretty heavy and deep. But if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, because I always feel that there are nuggets and pearls that you can take from stories like that, and you can apply it to your own life without ever having that awful disease. But you can apply that mindset into segments in life or hurdles that you have to try to overcome.
What I found interesting in that interview with him was him talking about like when he got the news, he didn't have this big freak out. Like that was kind of, it was so like, he talked about like he responds to these big things like by kind of slowing down. But he will still freak out about like not getting a table at a restaurant,
Yeah.
But I found that interesting about like the, you guys were talking about how, like what good is it going to do at that point, finding out you have this disease that you have a 50-50 chance of surviving. How is it going to help you to freak out at that point? And I feel like by not doing that, it just kind of like really kept things a little bit simpler, allowed him to like focus on stuff.
Yeah.
We do have a question here from Stephen Nelson, which is, how do you find the writers that you film?
Hey, Stephen, thanks for the question. Yeah, I'll just reach out to people that I hear about, that I see on YouTube that are really good. And I just try to reach out to them. My main job is in sales, so I'm always used to hearing no. So, if I see somebody that I think would really kind of bring the quote unquote brand, bring the story to life, I don't mind just asking in a nice way, like, hey, I would love to have you on the show. This is the concept. What do you think? And take it from there.
Let me just say, my default answer to things is no. Because I learned, because I used to be independent contractor and whatever, and I learned that the password to the next level is no. Is you just learn to say no to everything, so that when you say yes, you really mean it, right? So like I'd had a number of people ask me like, will you be on my podcast? Can I interview you? Whatever. And I would start by thinking no, and then I would go look them up, and the answer would remain no. And so like looking at that person and finding out about that person, that had to convince me to say yes. And you came to me with like, hey, allow me to bring you something. Most times when people come to me, they're like trying to get something from me and like leverage me to make them more successful. And you came to me with just like, hey, like I'm interested in you. Like I want to talk to you. And you just were like a genuine dude. So like, I feel like you're doing all the right things. You're not coming in, you're not like asking for stuff. You're not like coming in with a sense of entitlement. And like, you're like, I watched your interviews and you just have like a really good, and I got interviewed by you. So like I have a really good feel or like you have a really good a feel for that. So I think that's really great.
Thanks, Alan. Yeah, that whole thing is just trying to have the person share their story, and each person's unique and different, without getting all like wooey, but it's true. It's true. It's, I mean, what's the saying that, you're trying to find your purpose in life? Well, maybe that purpose is you, because there is only one you, and you have your story, and only you know that story better than anybody else. So my job as an interviewer or to highlight you is just to try to allow you to share that story without getting in the way the best that I can.
That's really cool. So we were talking about segments and trying to PR. You were kind of telling me a little bit about an attempt today on a PR.
Yeah. So for those of you who have ridden Greer Ranch, I went OTB on a trail called Overdrive. and it was in a rock garden. It was about a week ago, and it's just been on my mind. It's just one of those things where I got to get that back, because when you go OTB, you yard sale your stuff, your glasses or whatever, and your confidence also spills out on the trail too. So today, I wanted to go back and get it. I wanted to go back and get my confidence. I wanted to hammer out that trail and just ride it without going OTB. I think I knew when I broke down the crash in my mind what happened. So hit overdrive, top to bottom, felt great about it. No OTB. Then I'm sitting there right next to Jumping Mouse. As you know, you climb back up to the other side,
Okay.
and you hit Jumping Mouse, and there's a segment there, and it's called what do they call that? They call it
Mr. Toad's.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride for the OGs. And
for the OGs, that's
yeah,
right.
for the OGs. And I even did like my paint, my thumbnail picture. It's got my hat sideways, and I'm trying to look all cool and stuff.
Is it up yet? Or you're working on it right now?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
finished. The cut's done, but it's scheduled to come out on Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. So without giving too much away, I thought I knew where the segment started. And I have this thing that I go through before I attempt something like that, where I just kind of talk to myself and I get my mind right. I just get my mind where I need it to be prepared. And I think either my front tire or my body, or I was completely in the segment. So, so the clock was running, and you'll see it. You'll see how it turns out at the end as far as time.
That's so funny, because that's such a great metaphor for life. Like,
right.
You don't really ever know where the segment begins. Like the key segment of your life, you don't always know when it begins. You might already be in it, and for most of us, we're already in the most important segment of our lives. That's great.
That's right. That's right. So
Have you ever? Yeah, go ahead. So let's do a little bit of history. So you're relatively new to mountain biking, right?
I am. So I started mountain biking this last March. It was literally maybe a week or two before lockdown. My son had his 9th birthday, and out of the blue, he just said, "Hey, Dad, let's go get mountain bikes for my birthday so we can ride together." So what dad can say no to that? So we head on down to Alan's Bike Shop here in Murrieta, and they hook us up with some sweet bikes, and just been loving it ever since.
That's right.
In fact, everyone has a love that they've done when they were younger, and mine just happened to be skateboarding growing up. And my dream was to be a pro skateboarder, and my parents gave me until college. If you make it to college and you turn pro, you can run that life, and then you go to college later. Well, I had sponsorships, but never turned pro. So off to college I went. And, you get busy with college, you get busy with friends, you put down the sport, you get a job afterwards. You kind of lose that thing, that love. And I just couldn't find it again in the adult world, real world, until I got on that bike. And there was something about jumping on that mountain bike and going down the trails that brought that right back to me. It's like a addiction of some kind.
Yeah, dude, 100%. 100%. And I'm really glad you said that, because I think that's something I didn't realize about myself, because like you, I came out of skateboarding, and I was still skateboarding, up until not long. Like, I think I kind of fell off of skateboarding a couple of years before getting into mountain biking. But I think it was that thing about like that thing I was getting out of skateboarding, I just kind of wasn't getting anymore. And when I found mountain biking, I started getting that feeling again, that kind of the ability to kind of lose yourself in it, I think.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's almost like a meditation of some kind. You don't think about behind you. You don't think about in front of you. You are where your pedals are. So you're not worried about anything in that moment. And it's just being in that moment, which is such a sweet spot to be. And it's so hard to do in the real world. You got your job, you got everything else going on. It's sometimes can be tough.
So I recently did a video about how like limitations in life in a day can like really simplify things. And I think like it's funny that like we talk about like our crazy adult lives, but if you look at like what makes them crazy, it's like you have all these options all the time, like you have all these options, you have all these things to do, so you're having to make a lot of decisions, which really is a grown-up thing. It's taking responsibility. It's because you've taken ownership of your life, to whatever degree. Like when you were a kid, like you played until you got picked up or until you had to do whatever, and those limitations were kind of put on you, for a lot of us anyway. And then as we got older, we kind of controlled our own limitations, and as a result, like we had to manage all that. And so now we're always finding these ways to like limit ourselves even more, because like yeah, you gotta get to the point where you're like going so fast down a trail that you're trying not to like die. And like your only choice is like pay attention to right now or run into that tree.
Right. Yeah. Definitely don't want to punch those trees because they hit back.
No. So MTB Isaac wants to know, what bike do you ride?
Yeah, thanks, MTB Isaac. So I got lucky. I picked up a used 2020 stump jumper, Specialized stump jumper. It's your standard travel. It's got, I believe it's 140 in the front and 150 in the back. And it's the carbon model. So somebody had picked it up and decided that they didn't want it. And I got it just before the lockdown, just before all the bikes ran out of the shops.
Yeah, that was lucky. That's a good bike.
Yeah. Thank you.
Used 2020. So like how, like, was it like used at all? Like, or was it like?
No, I mean, the only scratch that I could see was on the sticker, and maybe he or she put it over the tail of their bed, of the bed of their truck to bring it to the bike shop to sell it. I guess. I mean, it's probably one of those meant to be for me things. It just so happened I was there that day, and the bike came in and left with me.
Like the old Stumpy.
Old Stumpy. Yeah. She's creating a lot of good memories for us. That's for sure.
Heck yeah. And you mostly, like, your kind of home trails are Greer Ranch, huh?
Correct. Yeah. I've got Greer Ranch just a couple miles down. And then in my backyard, I have a trail called Slaughterhouse.
Okay.
And that's a fun little single track with a bunch of little features on it.
Yeah. Do you have any, do you know anything about what's going on with the Greer Ranch trails right now?
No, I'm glad you brought that up. I met a guy. All good stories start this way, right?
I met a guy,
and he knows all this stuff. But this particular person is hopefully going to be on the broadcast, and we're trying to figure out the best way for this person to share who they are and their position without necessarily telling everybody that this person may be on the planning committee.
Yeah.
So this person is very close to the information, and I just want to have him give us anything that we can do to help with Greer, anything that we could be aware of that could, just help us all out. So
that's cool.
Hoping.
So yeah, if you guys are looking forward to that, subscribe to this guy's channel, and he'll be having that interview at some point.
Yes.
Right. You're not gonna promise when. You're just you're working on it, right?
Yeah. I've touched base with him a couple times. He's right now he's currently checking out the channel to make sure that it's a good fit for him to be on it. But talking to him verbally up at Sky Park at the campgrounds actually is where I met him, and he said he was all about it. He's definitely a mountain biker, so he's definitely pro mountain bike, but he's in a tough position because he necessarily can't be pro when they're making these big decisions, but he can make decisions to help us in a way.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah. I get it. I've seen a lot of that stuff going on. Like I worked some when we were I think like the second push to get a skate park into Redlands. Like I kind of worked on some of that stuff, and yeah, it's always like the personalities and the politics is always interesting. Cool. So was that your first time up at Sky Park?
That was my second time up there. Yeah. And my son was, he has a hardtail Haro, and he was having a blast. But the next day I rented him a dual suspension bike, and I don't know if I should have done that.
Yeah, you were saying like he just wanted to take that bike home, huh?
Oh man, they don't have enough kids bikes there, but the bike was for sale, but it wasn't for sale because they just don't have enough inventory.
Yeah.
And we were told it was for sale. So at the end of the day, I said, hey, let's just go ahead and get this bike. This is going to be a great bike. You like it?
I didn't realize that part of the story. Like you were like on board with buying the bike.
I was gonna buy it, and right at the end, they said, they just could not release it at this time because they only have like 3 or 4 kids bikes to rent.
Oh man!
So the little tears started bubbling up and everything, but it's in a way it's also good delayed gratification for him. Because now he's on the hunt. Now he's like all of a sudden he's on the iPad looking at bikes, looking at what does the neighbor have, and what kind of bike did Alan have again? What kind of Santa Cruz is that?
Oh, that's great. I feel like that's a whole part of the experience. Like I remember getting my first like my first bike. I had like a rock hopper, specialized rock hopper, and like I don't think I did a ride before I had that really. And I just was like looking all over. And I was like checking with my buddy. Hey, what do you think about this bike? Do you know anything about this bike? And he's like, oh yeah, that'll be a good starter bike. And, and it ended up finding a buddy who had one, and like, that's the best is like when you have a buddy that, takes care of their stuff. Yes. And like, I got his bike. And then of course, rode it for a little while and then went through all that again. It's like, what travel do I want? And who's got what? And who's got a demo bike that they're willing to sell? And, like all that kind of stuff.
Oh, man.
It's such a part of it.
It totally is. And when you find something, you just got to have it. There's something that when you find it, you just know it. It's really interesting. The bike shop actually asked me to take an electric bike out for a spin, and I was like, "Ooh, no! I'm gonna just not touch that day." No.
Yeah, I abstain.
Yes.
Yeah. So I build tonight's show as about keep it simple. So I know you're a pretty philosophical guy, and I just want to know like what. You've got 2 kids, 2 kids, wife, job, all kinds of stuff. And now you're doing this YouTube channel, a lot of stuff going on in your life. How do you keep things simple? And if so, how do you go about doing that?
Man, that's a good question. That I'm always still fine tuning that and reworking that. But the main success that I've found so far is really just trying to, no pun intended, I'm trying to segment my life. So there's family time where I'm not working on any of that stuff. And then there's editing time, there's filming time. And then there's even little cross now with my son, who is a mountain biker. So I can get some of that father, son, and mountain bike time in together. But I really try to keep those boundaries pretty hard so that I can try to accomplish everything. And every Sunday, this is a new thing that I'm doing. Every Sunday, I write in a little planner. It's 4 questions that I write down. So I don't copy and paste them. I write these questions down. But the first question I ask myself is, what do I want to do, or what do I want to be in 20 years? And then I put life, I put expenses or finance, I put health, and then at the bottom is experience. So I fill that out. And then the second question is, where do you want to be in 10 years? And then the third question is, where do you want to be in 5? And it gets on down to, what do you want to do this next week? So those are always kind of in line, and they change every week. And what I'm going to try to do is, I'm not going to look at them as I journal this every Sunday for at least 3 to 6 months out. And then I'll go back and look at it, because then I'm seeing like a pattern, something that's consistent, and that's helping me bring me more clarity and focus on what it is that I'm trying to do. So whenever I get there, and I will hopefully never arrive, hopefully I'll always fall in love with the journey. And what I'm hoping is that when I get there, I feel fulfilled, or when I get closer to it, I'm fulfilled. Cool.
I really like the way you answered that. Because you talked about, you didn't talk about stuff. you talked about a mindset. You talked about a way of structuring how you look at your day to day, how you look at like the long term and like break it down to like a week to week thing. That's really cool.
Yeah, thanks, Alan.
Yeah. Hey, one of my favorite people is in the comments, Andy Ginther. He says he's new to Mark, but looking forward to checking out your channel.
Thanks,
Andy.
Andy.
Right now, the smoke has shut Andy down. He's Andy. You're in. I'm sorry, you told me you're in Arizona, right? And there's been like fires and stuff like that, and people just haven't been able to ride.
Gosh.
But Andy's cool. Like Andy and I always really connected on in the comments, especially on the Airhorn podcast or the what used to be Raw Vlogs. I don't know if you ever saw any of the Raw Vlogs, but he would always leave these great comments, and then we actually got to actually meet face to face at Snow Summit one weekend. So that was really cool.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. So one thing I always like to ask guests is I like to ask guests to give me three milestones in your mountain biking life. I know it's only been since March,
Right.
So it's been, what is that? 7 months. 7 months, a little half a year, but I'm sure you can find 3 milestones like since you basically started mountain biking.
Yeah. I would say the first milestone is, which is probably not my favorite, but it is a milestone. It was my first good crash. And the reason why it was a milestone for me is because it was humbling. It taught me that there's so much to learn about this sport. Body position, bike position. If I'm going to be in towards the front of the tire, the back of the tire, utilizing the brakes, and just breaking down what the heck happened. One minute I'm smiling, having a good time. The next minute I'm dusting myself off. So, and without warning, it was just kind of, hey, what happened? So I would say that'd be milestone number 1. Milestone number 2 was just the idea of creating this channel, the segment, and kind of trying to figure out how I'm going to get, everybody looks up to all these, movie stars and all these popular folks and that, but hey, what about everybody? What about the average person, people that we can relate to? Let's allow the average person live an extraordinary life. So how do I get the average person to live an extraordinary life? So I'd say that's milestone number 2, because it's just been trying to figure out how to bring that together. And then I would say now milestone number 3 is I'm at the point where all I want to do is ride, and it can easily take over other aspects of my life. So it's just that juggling act of okay, I'm not injured, I really want to ride, but I got other responsibilities I have to do right now. How do I organize myself so that when I do go out and ride, that's all I care about, is that I'm just doing that and not worrying about other things.
That's cool. I've got something going on with my camera right now. Sorry.
No. Oh, you look like Max Headroom.
I was like, whoa, Max Headroom. Oh my God.
Remember? I just aged myself right there, everybody.
Yeah. Wow, that's so weird.
He was the Pepsi Cola guy, right?
I feel like he was I remember him as like a host on MTV.
Does anybody remember? I think you're right. I think he was definitely a host, but he had that glitchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it was doing a second ago, but you're back.
Yeah. Well, I was using the GoPro as the webcam, and like, I don't know if it's the GoPro or if it's my computer. But like, that's the second time that's happened. I was on the Joey podcast, the Joey Mountain Bike podcast with Paul the Punter and the Crashing Dad. And it did that. Like, it didn't do the same thing. It like literally like half the camera split, and like one side was working and the other one wasn't. And I was like, what was going on? Yeah.
I love the crashing dad. I love that handle.
Yeah, that guy's. I love that guy. He's great. I want to hang out with that guy all the time. Like I got to hang out with him a little bit at Sedona. And we just got along really well. And he's just like he's like a sweetheart. But dude, I've never ridden with him, but I've seen the stuff that he rides, and it's like the
Pretty
guy's
gnarly.
no joke. Yeah,
Yeah,
the guy's no
man.
joke.
I can only imagine.
So I gotta tell you, like you sent me some footage recently, and I appreciate that. And I was watching your footage, and I was like, wait, this guy's only been riding 6 months. Like you're handling it. Like for only
Oh,
having ridden 6 months, you're freaking handling it, dude.
oh man, it's eyes closed, you know.
Just like,
Well, on one run, Preston was behind me. He said, "I'll go behind you this time." I'm like, "Oh God, all right, let's roll."
yeah,
And on other runs, I'm just trying to keep up with you guys. And but thank you. I really love it. It's fun, and there's a lot to learn. And
yeah.
watching how smooth you guys ride and your lines, you know, you guys see stuff that I don't see yet,
Mhm.
and I think that's amazing, and I think it's cool to work
It's
up to.
it's so funny how like your whole body affects your eyes and vice versa. You know, like I just remember at times discovering um oh, sorry, Andy. Fresno. Why did I think you were in Arizona? That's so weird. And he's in Fresno. Okay. But there's like times when I would just go into a corner, I would feel something happen in the turn and be like, oh, the bike can do that. And then the next turn I would have that feeling in my body, and then I could see the turn look different, you know. I call it the wiggly worm on it's at Sky Park. If anybody here knows like Sky Park, um, there's a feature where it's like just like wood for a really long time, and it's wiggly, and I call it the wiggly worm.
Oh yeah, arrow, lower arrow.
Yeah, lower arrow. Yeah, I should have said what trail it's on. It's on lower arrow, and I don't know why, but I ended up really wide and high on the second turn. So it's a right-hander, left-hander, and then left, right, left, right, left. So I like that right-hander, that left-hander. I just ended up really high, and it felt totally different. And like then I hit that line totally different, and now Wiggly Worm looks totally different to me than it did before.
Dude, you hit that and you were gone. I was actually following you on that run when you discovered that line, and I had you in my sights with my camera.
Mm-hmm.
And right when you hit that high right turn, you just hit it straight. And I was still kind of like doing this thing, and you were just gone. I didn't see you until the bottom.
Yeah, I was watching your footage on that actually. I was like, was this the run? And then like I saw it, and I saw myself go high, and I was like, oh yeah. And then you like came over it, and I was just like, there was like dirt down there. Yeah, because if you do that, it like lines you up, and you can pretty much just straight line it. Yeah. Looks like you got a new subscriber already.
The Gone. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you very much. I really appreciate every single one of you guys. I really, really do. So thank you, Gons. That's awesome. And then, Max Headroom. That's right.
Yep.
It was a separate show, and MTV utilized them for everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
those are the days. Yeah. So did you grow up in Southern California?
I did. Yes, I grew up in the high desert of all places. I guess I had really bad asthma when I was a kid, and my parents took a trip out to the high desert, and I was a lot better. So I was lucky enough that they kind of uprooted us and found a place in this little tiny military town called Ridgecrest. It's it's also known as China Lake, California. It's kind of where they go out and they've created the Sidewinder missile out there, the Patriot missile out there. It is on the way to Mammoth Mountain if you're heading off of 395. It's just this little tiny desert town, and the military is the main thing out there. Yeah.
Dude, what is it like? Because so I've driven to Mammoth a number of times. I've yet to mountain bike up there, but I see those little towns. Like, dude, what is that like? Because what I wonder. It's like, what's it like to live in?
Man, so the town was about 20,000 people, so it was really small. I think you can get us all in a football stadium and there'd be room for more,
Uh-huh.
So everyone knows everyone. It really is that small town thing. Everybody knows everybody. So it was hard to get in trouble, but it was also hard to, kind of be a teenager and do your things. Anybody know where Ridgecrest is? But yeah, it was a tiny little military town. The good news is it's a small town, but because of the military, it was a melting pot. So
Okay.
in terms of, race and those types of things, we just always never saw it. I mean, we'd see a difference, but we'd never have a difference.
It wasn't a thing.
It wasn't a thing. No, it's
Yeah.
just you're an awesome runner. You're a great skateboarder. You're the football player quarterback.
Hmm.
And it was small town, awesome little town to grow up in. You can go out and play all day and come home at night. So I think that's why my parents were still sane, because they could just lock the door and let me go outside.
Right. I totally agree. I have two brothers, and the three of us were just, I don't know how my parents didn't like kill us, because we were just always like breaking stuff and starting fires and fighting and and playing AC/DC way too loud. Here's a cool comment from Andy. Seems like the skater mind translates well into MTB. Mike McGill was my first new deck.
Yes, right there.
Yeah.
Right on, Andy.
So I was on the Joey mountain bike podcast. One of the things we were talking about is how mountain bike culture and skateboard culture, how they're the same and how they're different. And you're just coming into the mountain biking culture. Like, what are your thoughts on that? On how those two are similar or different?
Yeah, definitely. I feel the similarities. I mean, the culture itself, that brotherhood, you feel it on the mountain bikes as well as when you felt it on a skateboard. When you roll up into a town or a skate spot, and you're instantly buddies with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that in this community. The clothes automatically, you've got the folks with the tight clothes on, and then you got the mountain bikers with just the baggy clothes on, the comfortable clothes.
Hesh or fresh.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes, like these are my people. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And then the language is very similar. It's the you and the ye and they're different pitches. They mean different things. And you know what it means. So yeah. I love it.
I have to say, I feel like a lot of the mountain bike culture that I experience now is similar to how skateboard culture was in the late 80s, early 90s. And for me anyway, when I was in Tennessee, right? Because if you wore Vans, or if you had a skater look, and if somebody looked like a skater in Tennessee, they were a skater. Nobody would look like a skater if they weren't, because they didn't want to deal with that. When I moved to California, I thought everybody was a skater, because everybody looked like a skater. But then I feel like later in years, the culture wasn't quite like that. I felt like for a while, if you were a skater and somebody else was a skater, it didn't matter. You were in the same tribe. And then there was tribalism within skateboarding, and I remember the first thing was I guess the first one was ramp. It was vert or street.
Yes.
Right? Are you vert or street?
Yes.
And then even then you had Hosoi and Hawk.
Yes.
Right. You had Hawk, which was very clean cut. He was a good example, a good role model. And you had the bad boy Hosoi,
That's right.
But I feel and then later on in the 90s or early 2000s, there was fresh. Are you fresh or are you Hesh?
Yes.
Do you listen to NWA or do you listen to Metallica? And you have these two different things. But I feel there's even that in mountain biking too. It's not as much now, I feel for a little while there was downhillers, there was DH and there was XC. But enduro has been kind of the bridge between, amongst all of it, I think.
It's the one that brings everybody together. I was actually going to ask you if that was a thing. XC riders, sometimes they're they need to go fast, right? And they have their tighter clothes on, and then you've got the downhill riders. They just got their flannels and baggy shorts, and they're flying down the hill. And then you got your enduro and trail, and they could be either of which.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I was saying, like I think enduro has really kind of spread things out because you have people from, like it's in the middle, and you got to be able to do both. You got to be a competent climber and a competent descender, and I think that's really kind of brought a lot of people together. When I came into mountain biking, enduro was just getting started. Like the EWS, I think like the first EWS year was like maybe the year I got started or afterwards. I can't remember. But I just remember it being like totally brand new, just that concept. So I think that's helped kind of even things out a lot, because I think if you went to like Aliso or you went to Laguna or someplace like that, like, like it was hard. Like, how are you going to get like a 150 mil travel bike, up Mathis, up one of those climbs, it's just like nasty. Yeah. So, at most you can have a short travel bike up there. So I think that's kind of spread things out a little bit.
That's good. And as far as the cultures go, there's no, you could ride with either one of those, right? XC, DH, there's no.
I guess. I mean,
yeah, at least we don't know of anything.
Yeah, I that's what I mean. I think like enduro, it's not like enduro, but it's like enduro style is kind of everybody now. Yeah. Which is funny because like I don't know, when we were there, if you saw that there was the guy that like just kind of never stopped pedaling, like he was in the XC.
Yes, yeah, that guy was a stud. He lapped us what, 30 times that day.
Yeah, he was like I think he was on a hardtail. Yeah, he was on a hardtail XC bike. Here's the thing: if you would come back the next day, I wasn't there, but I know the guy. If you'd come back the next day, he'd be on a big travel bike.
Wow.
And not necessarily wearing a Lycra, he'd be going enduro style.
Wow.
And I think he's not usual. I think most people don't do that, but like, yeah.
He seemed to be an elite athlete. I mean, he was working on something. I saw he had his racing numbers on. Mm-hmm. He had his Lycra on, so he was in the mindset of doing training for something.
Yeah. I think he's just that way too. Wow. Yeah, that's Josh Tootle. He's funny because like like if you see him ride and you try to follow him, you're like, holy crap, this guy's a seasoned mountain biker, and then you find out he's only been riding like a few years.
Wow.
He just like really took it on.
Wow. What surprised me was at the end of our session, at the end of the day, and you said hi to him. You said, hey, did you get enough laps in? And I thought he was going to be breathing hard with that, like, oh my God, I'm killing myself out here.
No, I said, hey, are you warmed up yet?
Yeah, that's what it was. And he sounded so fresh. He goes, I'm almost there. I'm almost there.
Like, yeah, almost warm.
What?
Yeah. So we're coming up on an hour now, and I have this is actually I was going to go to our exit exam, but Andy has asked a cool question, which is, what's your take on downcountry? Are you familiar with downcountry?
I am not. No, what is that?
Downcountry is it's like, so how you have like downhill bikes, cross country bikes, enduro bikes, trail bikes. There's all these different things. Well, one of the quote unquote new bike segments is downcountry, which is like usually it's like a bike that has pretty aggressive geometry, but is relatively short travel. Andy, let me know if that's kind of your idea of downcountry. Just a quick like house cleaning note. All of you guys in the comments do know that when you leave a comment, there is a bit of a lag. So if you leave a comment, it takes like a minute or two before it shows up for us. So just so you know that. But yeah, if I'm getting that wrong, Andy, that's kind of how I always understood downcountry. But like, yeah, it's just kind of the idea that like a lot of people felt like some people were like, the people are over biking, people have too much bike for their trails. If you're riding a lot of like Greer Ranch, do you need like 170 mil? Like some of the trails maybe.
Maybe
you're
me.
like right. Like I think like maybe like TMBDH, but even then, like I don't know if you need like that much, but yeah. I think it's fine. I think like more types of bikes, more, if especially for people who can set up a quiver, I think it's great.
I got a question about bikes like this. Oh, here's Andy. I thought I saw something come in. Oh no. So what is the whole thing with the mullet setup? 29 in the front and 27 and a half in the back. I mean, I just don't know. It sounds cool.
Well, if you have the right geometry on the frame, you're basically, with the right geometry on the frame, you can get the best of both worlds. You can get like that really good rollover by having the big wheel on the front. So like, big chunky stuff, you can just like cruise over it. But you also get better cornering with the smaller wheel on the back, right? A lot of times like a 29er going into turns, depending, like unless you really kind of like lean it over, it'll want to stand up in turns and kind of like, throw you over. Also, if you're small like me and your things are steep, it's really easy to get that butt buzz. And lastly, I think like if a lot of people feel like 29ers aren't quite as agile, a little bit harder to like get them off, like change directions. So the 29er, the mullet bike is supposed to kind of do that. But there's some trade-offs too, but like, no bike company has really like anytime recently they haven't made like a mullet specific bike. Although it's starting to happen now, like Intense has a couple of bikes where you can get it in the mullet, but it's the same frame. They just like set it up a little bit different. And Stephen Nelson asks, have you heard it the other way around with the 29er in the back? So somebody had brought that up as a joke, but I think I was listening to the Path podcast. Guys, if you haven't listened to the Path podcast, they're on Mountain Bike Radio, which is it's a conglomerate podcast on any of the normal podcast platforms. And there's like 5 or 6 shows on there. And one of them is the Path podcast, one of my favorite podcasts. Check them out. Also from my favorite bike shop. So you'll hear Tawny and Ak and Nathan, 3 great characters. Anyway, I think they were talking about it at that point, and I guess like somebody did it, but it was like really good for climbing.
Wow. I guess that makes sense, huh? Bigger wheel in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, I don't want to take up your whole evening. I know you have a family, and I've got to get back to working on this like jump video. But so that I can hopefully get it out this Monday. But before we do that, I'm going to give you, or I'm not going to give you this. It's the exit exam, the mountain bike exit exam. You're not taking the exam. Allow me to read you the description.
Okay.
You weren't prepared for this.
Let me get a piece of paper.
Oh, Andy, that's right. Andy, Blake Sampson from GMBN did a great reverse mullet vid. If I haven't checked that out, I should check that out. All right, exit exam. Wait,
okay.
Did I put the banner? Let me get the banner up.
Wait. Let me get my, should I put my helmet on for this? Here we go.
You won't be able to hear.
All right, here we go.
He's ready.
I'm ready.
He can't hear anything, but he's ready. Can you hear me?
I got you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, okay. This isn't your exam. You're going to help write the exam.
Well, in that case.
Yeah,
Cheers, everybody. We'll go back to that part.
Oh, that's great. All right. Exit exam.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, so mountain biking, the imaginary organization in charge of mountain biking, has asked you to help write the mountain biker license exam. What are 3 questions that must be included on this test? Please provide the answers.
Okay. Are we making this up right now, Alan, as we go?
Yeah, no, yeah. You're providing
The
three
questions?
questions.
Oh,
That have to be on the exam.
okay, so first would be to get a mountain bike license. What are the 3 questions that have to be on the exam? I would say the first question is, when was the last time you rode a bike?
What's the correct answer?
And the correct answer is on the way here.
Nice. I like it. Okay, number 2.
Number two, the question would be, how, let's see, if I were to give you a mountain bike today, what would you do with that bike as soon as you got it?
Yeah.
The answer would be, I wouldn't sell it. I wouldn't give it away. I would go out and explore the outdoors and ride it. Ride that baby.
Nice. Number 3.
Number 3 would be, if I give you this mountain bike license, specifically, would you could it be multiple choice?
Yeah, whatever, however you want. It'd be essay,
Okay.
multiple choice. They have to like pass a skills course. It could be anything.
Okay, so would it be to take care of your bike so that you can have your bike for a long time? It would be, this is Noah Mills whiskey. Somebody just asked, the Gons just asked. I would say, to take care of your bike, how would you wash that bike? Would it be high pressure spray water? Would it be low pressure spray water? Would it be hard abrasive brushes, soft brushes, or just simple green?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or B through E?
Yeah, I was gonna say how many choices.
So yeah,
that's good.
So the answer would be the B through E. Sprinkle the water on the bike, simple green or some soap and water to wash that puppy down. And
nice. That's good. I like it. Ride your bike, take care of it.
Yes, ride your bike, take care of it, and it'll call you back.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, doesn't anybody have that feeling when you go out in the garage or where you keep your bike? It's just it definitely calls you.
You know, the guy who got me into mountain biking, what he always used to say is like, they've got feelings.
Yeah.
like I had my bike, we were like gonna go ride, and like I didn't check the weather, and it just like ended up like pouring rain, but I was gonna go ride after work, and I had left it like on my car rack. At the time I had a car, and it was raining outside, and he's like, "You're gonna leave the bike in the rain?" And I was like, "It's a mountain bike." And he's like, "You know they got feelings, right?" And I was like, "What?" And ever since then, like I treat it. I like that. Ride it, take care of it, and it'll call you back.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. Adult commentary. All right. Well, let us wrap this up. Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show, and thanks everybody for showing up, for commenting. Good to see some familiar names. Glad you could make it this evening. And I know it was short notice, like I just put it out this afternoon. Mark, again, if you haven't already checked out Mark's channel, it's The Segment. Go check it out. Give it a follow if you're into that sort of thing. Good stuff. And I think it's going to grow pretty well. All right.
This has been awesome. Thank you very much, you guys. Awesome stuff.
Been good having you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.